yes, maybe you're not ready for it. No, that's not what you mean. That's like it's something to aspire. Which is, if you look at the black section of the upper here,
Right.
which part of business?
You have to get one of those 360 ones. Chaim. I think that when I'm saying it correctly. If someone knows it otherwise, then please do correct me. I'm saying this from memory. But as was discussed tonight at length about Rabbi Itkin's legendary Ahavas Yisrael. So there's a sikha where the Rebbe speaks about the difference between the Baal Shem Tov, the Magid, and the Alter Rebbe in regards to Ahavas Yisrael. And I say this in context of I was saying about Chayit and Aliboy. I only know Rabbi Itkin for the last 20 years. I don't know. I don't think his family's in the other room. So that's I don't know the people that know him as a child, and know what's natural and what he worked on to become. So you can, at least for us, that we see him later in life. It's like, okay, that's Rabbi Itkin. What does that do with me? That's Rabbi Itkin's unique personality of Ahavas Yisrael. It's not my personality. So where do I come to this? So there's the Rebbe says that, again, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. That the Baal Shem Tov, Ahavas Yisrael, and the Rebbe based on sayings from the Rabbeim, that the Baal Shem Tov Ahavas Yisrael is that he only saw the good in people. And he saw people, he only saw good, and the ultimate, the Rebbe goes to the difference in the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov. The ultimate point in the Alter Rebbe Hatzvi-Bais of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe doesn't say that you love every Yid because you push it to see everyone's a tzaddik. The Alter Rebbe there discusses what do you do with the guy that's a rasha, that the Torah commands you to hate. The Alter Rebbe teaches you how to love even that person, that even that person has to be loved. And the Rebbe explains why that's a much deeper level of Ahavas Yisrael, because you're recognizing, you're not blinded by the good there, you see the reality, sort of. Like the Rebbe explains in Tanya, the Farbrengen, the Alter Rebbe says that multiple levels of why we have Ahavas Yisrael. Starts off with, if you read Tanya, it's just like 3-4 nice, Alter Rebbe is being flowery with 3-4 lines, but the Rebbe explains each expression is a deeper level in Ahavas Yisrael. Starts off with Shadish, that we all have one Shadish, Avechad Kulana, and then the Alter Rebbe says, Kulanu Achim, we're all brothers. And the Rebbe teaches what's Alter Rebbe being Yosef by saying Kulanu Achim, because one father means that we have one Shadish. And in the Shadish, we're Taka one, but we're not in the Shadish, we're down here now, we're on earth. The Alter Rebbe uses actually the expression, Gufim Mechulakim. Gufim Mechulakim, it's an expression from the Gemara, that means that our bodies are separated from each other. So the idea that the Alter Rebbe is trying to say is that even when we're achim, even when we're brothers, meaning that we're away from the shadish, and brothers as close as brothers can be, but we're still two separate people. Even there, you have to have Ahavas Yisrael. In other words, what the Alter Rebbe is mechadish in Darkei Chassidus is that Ahavas Yisrael is not when everything looks one and the same. No, that's Achdus Yisrael. There's a difference in Achdus and Ahavas Yisrael. By the way, it's one of Rabbi Itkin would learn with the Bachram every year at length, the Kuntus Ahavas Yisrael that the Rebbe gave out. So the Achdus Yisrael is where everyone's one level, everyone's one. It's all nice and glorious. The Alter Rebbe's Chiddush for Ahavas Yisrael is that even when it doesn't look all glorious, and even when the guy that you're next to is not the person that you would naturally think of having Ahavas Yisrael with, even there, that's where the Ahavas Yisrael has to come. So I don't want to break any myths here or anything, but as I taught the same class as Rabbi Itkin taught. In other words, we shared students. So there's sometimes you get the case. Rabbi Itkin lived in Himmel. He came into his classroom. everyone knows Rabbi Itkin. Rabbi Itkin was Meshicha Goya Umayla. He would say he was living in a world of chassidus. He wasn't his head is in the Maimon that this year's Maimon Basar Lagani. It says about that at the Baal Shem Tov, 2/3 up and 1/3 down, or 1/3, 2/3 down, 1/3 up. Itkin is say stuff up there. What's going on? So I just want to tell you, as sharing the classroom and speaking, and you talk about your common students and what has to be done. His feet were very much on the ground. He knew exactly which bachim were a pain to have in the class, and the ones that, oh my God, what am I doing with this kid, and so on and so forth. So the bachim never heard it, and he didn't come. And he wasn't Chas v'Shalom saying it to me as a behind the back talking, but it was more of a what do we do to do a difference? So I got to see Rabbi Itkin's feet on the ground, in Zavis you saw everything looks so good and fine. So you could think that he pushed it, he had these glasses that you don't see the person, and you're living in Himmel, so of course everyone's good. Like if I'm in Himmel, of course I'm going to have so with everyone. But I got to see his feet on the ground. Very well understood the bachrim in the class, and very much understood the challenge of loving everyone in the class. And yet, despite that, everyone in this class students knew this Rabbi Itkin embrace everyone. So I say it in the context of we're saying that even if the guy next to you is the type of guy that you don't understand how you can love such a person, the chayit and aliba is not that we should be guys that are living in Himmel that don't see the difficulty in other people. The chayit and aliba is that despite the fact that we see the difficulty in people, we have to learn how to not just there's an expression when the Rebbe says of Ahavas Yisrael that you could be soivel the other person, that you could they say soivel, you could tolerate the other person. That's like rock bottom Ahavas Yisrael, that you can tolerate the guy. At least you're not beating him up. That's not Ahavas Yisrael. That's just like the rock bottom of it. At least you could tolerate him. But if you see the guy that you have to figure out how to tolerate him, that this is the idea that it's shaykh to us also, because we might be more, again to use the expression, Rabbi Yitzchak might have been 2/3 up, 1/3 down, and we're 4/5 down and 1/5 up. But whatever the situation is, that's what Ahavas Yisrael is. Ahavas Yisrael is the ability that, despite the fact that we see the difficulty, and how do we make that person feel that we don't even realize that they have that's what they are. So we should, as the song goes, who will be the Zaidi if not me? Who will be the Ahavas Yisrael here if not Rabbi Itkin? Has to be us. L'chaim. Inei matei umanoi sheves achim yochad. Inei matei umanoi sheves achim yochad. Triyadadayo, mama, triyamay, oy ladadayo, maya, ladadaya, amaya, ladadaya. Mama ya yo ya mama ya hine mate. Big tribe. It's like a black 4 feet by 4 feet. Little.
Hey, nay, oh, my God.
A number of people said there's nobody on. Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah, everyone said how Rabbi Itkin's, everyone was his friend. He introduced me when I came to Pittsburgh for Shloshim. I stayed at his house, and he made me teach a niggin to the boys. I wanted to be invisible, but he made me teach a niggin to the boys. Seder Nigunim in the afternoon in the basement. And Rabbi Darren came in and said, "Who's this?" And Rabbi Itkin said, "This is my friend." I'm like 20 years younger than him. But and he meant it. Other thing that we've been thinking about was not only one of the speakers mentioned is Rabbi Itkin's tremendous. I mean, everyone mentioned Rabbi Itkin's obviously Israel, Simcha, and Menschlichkeit, but even more than Menschlichkeit, the respect. And that's definitely something we can't all be as friendly as Rabbi Itkin. I have sometimes tried.
Backfire?
But no, it didn't backfire. I just didn't try hard enough. But the tremendous respect that Rabbi Itkin had for everyone, and like Rabbi Alpine said, it was not with like ignoring, the negative side of anyone or looking at everyone as if they were perfect or anything like that. And everyone on their own level. And with the Bachram also, it was not just friendliness, but really a true respect. And with the leaders in the community, in terms of what Saul was saying, right? In terms of shalom in the community, and the way that we saw that Rabbi Itkin treat everyone in the community, everyone on their own level, with tremendous respect and tremendous kavod. And I remember someone mentioned the Farbrengens. Remember the box Farbrengens? There was Rabbi Itkin decided that we used to have Farbrengens up here was once a month, Shabbos Baruch. And then Rabbi Itkin decided that wasn't enough. There had to be more Farbrengens. And so somehow he took the term box lunch and turned it into box Farbrengen or something like that. It didn't really make much sense, but it didn't matter. Look, it made sense to him. Yeah, we just didn't understand. We were on this level. So he started that in the basement, and then I remember Rabbi Rosenfeld didn't like that like there were some people at it for Farbrengen and other people weren't. It wasn't exclusive. It wasn't. But you kind of had to know about it, or maybe people didn't feel. So then that Farbrengen had to come upstairs, and the whole community had to have it for Farbrengen. That's how the weekly every Shabbos. And when the rabbi said something, that's how it was, and tremendous respect that and covet that Rabbi Itkin had for everyone in the community, whatever their position was, and and commensurate with their positions. Definitely something that we could all overcome.
Remember seeing a letter from the Rebbe, one of the teacher, educator in school. The Rebbe told them when you sit with the Talmidim, tell them stories of Hasidim. Emphasize stories of Hasidim and other great tzaddikim. Although the stories of great tzaddikim is very good, like with the Munah and everything, but emphasize the supporting of Hasidim. Why? Because when someone hears child, here's a story about a tzaddik, oh, this is like a righteous person, I'm never going to get to his place. So it's a nice story. But when you tell a story about a chassid, it's like a Jew like any other Jew in the community or was before, you know that this is something you can reach also, because this is not someone that like someone who lived with everybody. So all the stories we sang tonight, it's like not someone, but yeah, it was a chassid, but it was a chassid who grew up between chassidim, and he lived everything that other chassidim lived with, but he just worked on himself because he learned chassidus, and he heard the Rebbe's teaching, and he took it and he took a lesson to his life. And that's how he became what he became, and he gave over all his teachings that he got. So when we hear stories, it's not like the stories about a righteous person who lived once upon a time, and he was a nice man. So, as the Rabbi said, we have to think to ourselves, okay, can you say, okay, I can be totally like Rabbi Itkin, but I can take a few lessons from his life. How he smiled to someone when even if it wasn't. I'm just going to share one small thing. Like I spoke to my son who's learning overseas. I asked him, like, what do you remember? Oh, remember from Zayden? He was a few years ago. He was here, and he said he spent time with my father. And one day he told him, like, you want to go with me to Kashrus? I said, yeah. So he went into the car. Also before going to the car, so someone passed by and he stopped Rabbi Itkin, and he asked him, he spoke to him for a minute, and then he went back to the car. After he's like sat down in the car, like from the car ready to go, he walked out. And he sees he gave him something. Then he asked, like, what happened? Then he said, this guy had something, he thought I shouldn't have certain thing. And he was like, I say fighting him or something. He didn't like the Rabbi Itkin had a certain thing. And now he came and he asked him help in that same area that he was like again. So in the beginning he thought like, why he doesn't want me to be involved in that. And now he's asking me, but then he sat down in the car, like, what am I? Right now, this certain individual needs something, so I need to help him. So he went out, and he did whatever he needed to do. What is it? It's someone who lives with a thing, like he has to live the way Hashem wants it, that he heard from, that everyone should live. So he puts aside certain feelings. Even he was absurd. You see, he was a person like anybody else. He felt something like he's like you can say, like like he's asking for the same thing that he doesn't want him to have. No, he worked on himself and he gave him whatever he wanted. So that's where everybody can learn for his own life. Whatever we hear, we should take a lesson to ourselves.
So what I'd love to do, if possible, open up the floor. Everyone could say what they want, and if we're going to pass it around, so it will be recorded for posterity, pass around the computer. I do want to mention tonight, Zayin Teves. Tonight, Zayin Teves is the yard site of Rabbi Yosef Matz, Rabbi Yosef ben Yisrael Gershom. My father had a very soft spot for him. I mean, I think you say that about hundreds of people. He had a very soft spot for them. But particularly Rabbi Yosef Matz, Rabbi Yosef Matz, all of us, or a lot of us remember him, and certain people spent a lot of time to help him. Rabbi Yosef Matz was who was he? He was a Yid. He came from, you could say, the royalty of Chabad. His mother was a Chain. His uncle was a Berke Chain, Rav Aaron Chain, the Minkowitzes. But his mother, his name is Leah Matz. It was Leah. She only left Russia in the 1990s. And they managed, even though they left Russia in the 1990s, she managed her and her husband to stay frum all the way till the end, which is phenomenal. The fact that any Yiddish guy came out from then. And he came to America and he came to Pittsburgh, him and his brother and his mother. His mother is buried here. She's a Chain. And everyone remembers him. He was very particular of bringing the Russian Sidurim here to show, bring Russian Jews close to Yiddishkeit. And unfortunately, he passed away in a very tragic fire on the night of Zayin Teves. My father was very particularly involved with that. I spent hours and hours talking with him. hearing about how his mother's gefilte fish was the best gefilte fish, and she was the only one who knew how to make it, and no one else in America knows how to make proper gefilte fish. And his mother and his brother and his cousin and his this and his that. But he's somebody who definitely had a tremendous love for the Rebbe, for Yiddishkeit, and he kept it up. So, and my father, his grandfather never had Kfuras Yisrael. Never was. His grandfather, Rabbi Raskin, was never properly. I guess they had a kfura, never a proper burial. He was executed by the KGB. A few years ago, we discovered which field he's in and put up a matzeva. He was very particular. One of the mitzvahs he would do is to take care of kfarim, take care of people's graves. He texted every single year or called up Yosef Matz's son, who lives now in Florida, to keep his yard site. So this year, I actually texted him to make sure to keep the yard site. He always brought a minion to the cemetery over here in Churchill. Tomorrow, I also arranged to already take a minion to go to Churchill to his kever to say Kaddish. Every single year, he felt, I think, that his grandfather, both his grandparents, you could say, never had a proper memorial, never had a proper matzeva. Nobody came to say Kaddish by the kever, and so he was particular. My mother's grandfather was in Kazakhstan. He sent money to renew his kever, to renovate his kever. In Old Montefiore Cemetery, where his parents are, all the kvarim near his parents, he would call up the person in charge of the cemetery, send them money to renovate those kvarim. I saw it was crooked. I saw it fell down. I saw it got chipped. A car banged into it. He used to send to Rabbi Yosef Matz's son pictures. Before Rosh Hashanah, I went to your father's kever. I made sure that it's all good. He sent him a picture of it. So it's a yid who literally had a serious nefesh for Yiddishkeit. I would say not just in Russia, even when he came to America. His wife, he married her in Russia. She didn't particularly appreciate married a Jewish woman, and that itself was a chiddush. Rosenblum, remember one time you said when you went to Russia, over 50% intermarriage or 90%. I don't remember the number. He went to Russia in the 80s. So a yid like that, raised without a cheder, without anything, only memories of his zaydah. So I do want to mention Rabbi Yosef and Yisrael Gershon Matz. Neshama should have a tremendous aliyah. And with that, I'm going to open up the floor to everyone else. Chaim v'racha. Yeah.
I think actually that
yeah.
Mordechai Cohen and I were over. I don't know if it was. I mean, we were over different times actually over. Shabbos view, Yontif view. So I don't remember which particular one, but it's like we could clearly see actually how as Mordechai Cohen and I were giving our at least suggestions of not definitive pshat, right? And he would actually say, like actually a good insight, or at least a good possible insight. In other words, as if we were the greatest Talmidei Chachamim on the planet.
I think you are.
So two things. So one thing is he would ask from everyone, do you have something to say? And he would always listen. And I don't remember him ever correcting someone in Limud Torah. Like if someone said something, he never added on. He never said that what you're saying isn't correct. He always gave covet to every single person. The other thing is, I once was mishkiach for him, and I was a little mcdoctic, a little particular on a certain Indian. So he never, no, I'm not going to say what the Indian was, but it was something that wasn't really such a problem. So this was the only day that I was a mishkiach for him. So he never corrected me. He never told me, don't worry about that. That's not the right thing. You shouldn't be something like you said in the speech that, he knew how to work out things between people and when there was a real problem, when there wasn't. So I finally, from this, the telling of stories tonight, I remembered that he never corrected me. He never told me that, no, you're not Roy for this position. But eventually I figured it out.
A very good friend of my father for many, many decades, Rabbi Vogel. Say l'chaim. You don't say anything else, just l'chaim. Say l'chaim. L'chaim. Bicycle.
Taking the camera away. He's talking to the picture.
Chaim, Chaim. In Pirkei Avos we say, "Az boishes panim legan Eden, az panim legehenim." So I heard something very beautiful. If somebody is a boishes panim, very gentle, very careful, this person could survive only in Gan Eden, in a place that everything is perfect. But if a person is an azponi, inclusion, is going with the highest, he could survive even in Gehenna. He could change the Gehenna. When you're talking about Yosef Yitzchak, or he was the person, nothing was in his way. When he saw somebody, the person got melted just from his smile, from his warmth, from his highest, everything. Always follow the Rebbe's footsteps. Don't think about the negativity, not about yourself, not about other people. And even sometimes there are issues and things are not so easy. Don't let your thoughts and your feeling be involved with all of this negativity. Think what could you do? What could you do? We don't have time for this. That's what he was. As ponim legehem. You know that the Passover was in Gehenna and he was screaming. No, right?
So you let him talk.
Shamshi was singing a paar Wörter.
Chaimke. Chaim. Levi, Yirmi Cohen.
Everybody heard you.
Yes, Shamshi.
Shamshi, if you're there, open your camera.
I'll be right here. That's all you need. How you say pen?
Yeah.
Sit.
Okay.
Fine.
Here.
Yirmi, you're
You're big now.
Mr. Rudolph, is that Mr. Rudolph? Hi.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. How are you?
Aleichem Shalom. Thank God. Chaim Bracha. There's a bacher. I told this to Chaimke and to his kids, who from Toronto. I don't know if I should say his name or not, but Baruch Hashem, the rest is history. He calls me up, and my father, he wanted to go to Pittsburgh for yeshiva. So he's a very talented Talmid Chacham, and basically I called up the yeshiva, and there was this Baruch Hashem no room. Baruch Hashem, Pittsburgh was a very popular place for. Anyway, so it's exploding, and I guess there They were taking, they took local Bachrim. So that's pretty much that was the conversation. So I called Rabbi Yitzkin. I said, Rabbi Yitzkin, probably something will happen here. So I called Rabbi Yitzkin, and I said, there's a talented Bacher, and he very much wants to go to Pittsburgh, and there's no room. So he says, you know what? He thinks about it a few minutes, and he says, you know what, Yirmiyah, l'chatchila riber. He says, why don't you, or you or your father, why don't you try? You never know. They may be so blown away by his lumdis and his character, his good midas. Maybe there'll be room. So Baruch Hashem, I remember like today, my father, not a young man, was like gesund. He schlepped in from Toronto, 6-hour drive with his Bacher's parents to Pittsburgh. And I think Rabbi Rosenblum had mentioned that there were 2 cancellations. And Baruch Hashem, the rest is history. This is Rabbi Tuvia Kasimov. I'm not covering all the details, but if not for Rabbi Yitzkin's push, and saying to go, that he should go, he would not have gone to Pittsburgh. So Rabbi Itkin definitely has a tremendous chus in this Rabbi Tuvia Kasimov, who's a big goin and a based in, and thought I'd share that little light in there. So l'chaim.
L'chaim bracha. We miss you here in Pittsburgh.
Me too. Thank you. Me too. Another little thing. I once asked Rabbi Yitzkin. It was like, I guess, the end of the year. There was a hockey game or Steelers, or maybe it was a soccer. I forget, a football. One of those. I think it was hockey.
That's soccer.
And with all due respect, the Maple Leafs are much better than maybe not. Anyway, so I told Rabbi Yitzkin I guess it was a ticket, and I told Rabbi Yitzkin, I'm going to this hockey game. It's a bit tough, Shin Mem Ches, I guess, and that's it. I just letting him know I was staying by his house. So he says to me very nicely, Yirmiyah, sorry, but you can't go. I said, well, why not? Like, all excited, the end of the year. Anyway, whatever. I'm going to go into some details, but he felt it wasn't pasnish, it wasn't appropriate, and I was very upset. But I forgave him. But I thanked him. Because it wasn't sort of that particular, I guess, environment wasn't maybe the most appropriate. But he did it with love. And you felt that he meant it with love. So it was accepted.
Thank you.
So today you're hurting.
He
still hasn't gotten over it.
I think they lost. Anyway.
You visited my father. You've seen him a few times. Yeah.
Marty's gonna say, young guy. Marty, tell us what you don't want to say on the video.
Don't do it? Okay. So we'll face it away from you.
What do you think? I think you know the answer there.
You know what to say to you. Sure.
spoke before now. Just all the things that everyone said, all the same things that I'm wearing. I think, the derech eretz, the friends of everyone. But he was a student he was a good student. He made him a good teacher. He learned about everyone. He loved your story. He made you feel like he was, invested in you. You. That's all I got.
Did he? I was wondering. He told me one time he took a class at a baseball game. Trying to figure out which class it was.
You remember the Yud-Beis Thomas Farbrengen in 2021?
And by Yankee.
So, I mean, he said, "Oh yeah, pour me a drink." He said, "What? I want to make me an old fashioned." Made him, and he said, "Oh, how do you make it?" He was all interested in how to make an old fashioned. And he's like, "Rabbi Itkin drinking an old fashioned. It had a cherry in it." It's like he didn't care how to make old fashioned. He was making the kid that was making the letters, just making him feel good. I mean, that's. I don't know. He just would learn from every. In my days in yeshiva, I don't know. Yisrael Salmon, everyone knows. So he was in my class, and he would. Okay, this is back in the 80s. He was very into his preppy shtick. I don't know. And Rabbi Itkin would just talk to him for hours about all these things that. It meant something to Yisrael Stanman, obviously. Couldn't have meant anything to Rabbi Itkin, but he was interested. He learned from each person. It was amazing. And it made each person feel special, which everyone in the room, everyone here now felt a special connection, felt like you had because that's how he made you feel by doing that. It's a real good lesson for all of us to, just learn from everyone. And that's very good.
Chaimke.
Yeah.
Marciano.
What about Shalom Marciano?
Abba Shalom.
Yeah.
He used to come to your parents every Shabbos, no? For years.
Every Friday night. And it was part of our Friday night meals. Not Shabbos morning. He would daven in Shower Torah at 7.
Sure.
He opened up at 6 a.m.
I met him because I did a Sephardic minyan there. I laned that year, so I introduced him to your father.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're the one who introduced her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His daughter is
always have a nice thing to say about him.
What?
He'd always say nice things about him.
Yeah.
And he says one time he says, I see a man lonely on the street, smoking a cigar. I go over to him. I wanted to make him happy, and Shlomo, that's you. Yeah.
Wasn't he actually the Sephardic guy from
Yeah,
France
Morocco.
or something?
Yeah.
He's like from Morocco.
I tell you, we never, I never knew about the nigun. I would say many of the typical Chabad nigunim that we sing. We always sing Shlomo Marciano's Friday nigunim Friday night. That's what we sing. That's what we always sing Friday night. We never sing the.
I remember him. I heard actually an interesting story as far as actually Marciano as a kid, 5 years old, by the Baba Sali. It's like people came in, for Arak being poured, for Brecha, and they were running out. The Baba Sali had actually, he did it himself, where he had wrapped up, it kept on pouring. The Baba Sali never ran out of Arak.
Yeah. Shlomo Marciano, he learned in the Chabad in Marrakesh by Rabbi Lipsker in the 1950s.
Really?
Yeah.
He came to my house before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like
Weinstein. Who's that? Right behind. Who's that? Oh, him. Yeah, sure. Sure, remember him. Yeah.
Great guys.
Yeah.
Chaimke, his daughter is still connected with your house.
Yeah, she lives in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go over to Rabbi Weinstein. Lots of Rabbi Weinstein.
Died shortly thereafter.
Okay. Yermi, you have L'chaim near you?
I do.
Okay, so let's say L'chaim together. With a kohen, your kohen give a bracha. L'chaim bracha.
Chaim bracha, Yitzchak ben Meir. Better for you, for your family.
Okay, what do you have, L'chaim? Weiser. Rabbi Weinstein, your brother was a bus driver in Richmond, right?
He was, well, he was the camp bus driver after I did.
And you were also a camp bus driver?
Yes.
So say there was, you become a camp bus driver, then you send me to yeshiva, and you go to the next one.
Something like
Send him
that.
to yeshiva.
Something like that.
Got
Something
it.
like that. So I was asked to share a few things. This may have, some people may have heard this before, but I'll share it just in case others haven't. I actually met Rabbi Itkin in the summer of, it was the summer of 1980. Right out of Kollel, he went to Richmond, Virginia. He was the program director for Richmond, Virginia Chabad. It turned out they felt it wasn't the right place. They were only there for 1 year. And then that next fall, they came here in 1981. So at the time I was a college student, and I was going in college a few hours away. It's called Virginia Tech. And the story of whatever happened with me, I'd finally that summer, this is the summer of 1980, decided that I wanted to check out Yiddishkeit for the first time. And so I was going to go on Shabbos. I wasn't going to carry anything for the first time. I wore a yarmulke, which was a very challenging thing for me to do at the time. And I walked 5 miles to the only frum shul in Richmond. And so when I was there, once I got there in the morning, I was staying for the rest of the afternoon. I'm not going to walk all the way back. So while I was there, a young rabbi walks up and says, "Hello, I'm Rabbi Itkin, and would you like to learn Torah together?"
Was in Richmond, Virginia?
Richmond, Virginia, yes.
Oh, wow, he was everywhere, wasn't he?
Yes, he's everywhere. And yeah, the only two children they had were the husbands are sitting right here. Connie was 2 years old and Shana was a baby. So and so learn Torah, exactly what I wanted to do. And so that starting that week, we went to the Chabad house at it's called the Lubavitch Center there. And it wasn't quite the Farbrengen. If anybody knows Richmond, that building wasn't there yet. It was just another kind of building there. And he opened up these thoughts for the week. And the older people here know what thought for the week was from Rabbi Kagan, all the shalom from Detroit. And based on Parsha. So he opened up one and we would learn that. That's the first learning we did. And in the process, we got very close. I used to then start going over to their house for the meals after the Shabbos day. I remember one time that again, my background, I had not had a bar mitzvah ceremony in my life. I never really learned Hebrew properly. In third grade, I learned the sounds of some of them. I didn't even know the names. And so one afternoon, he says, "Come here, sit down in the living room. There's some space." He had this blow up beach ball with all the little olive base on it. I guess he was playing with his 2-year-old at the time, that stage in life. So he said, "Sit down." So he sits down with me and takes the ball and says, "Olive," and rolls it to me. So he says, "What's next?" I didn't know. So he said, "Base." Oh, base. And we went through this thing and I learned olive base that way. Again, I think that this really reflects on the true love he had. We bonded at some level learning Torah. I was a college student learning physics and mathematics. I don't think he could relate to me quite that way, but his Ahavas Israel just overpowered everything. And he and his family just sort of embraced me and took me in. And he later that fall purchased tefillin for me for the first time and arranged it so that I would go to Begisha that winter. This is all his doing. And so that Begisha solidified my decision to be Chabad. Then later, Purim came.
At what point did you become religious?
I claim I'm still never religious to this day. I don't like the word religious. I'm still not religious. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm slowly won't make you religious.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long story. I'm not going to get into that story right now. But so then by the summer, they had already left, but they arranged for me to be part of the Gan Yizu camp, which I got very involved with. And the end of that, he'd already arranged before he left for me to go to yeshiva. That was Ben Azman between Tisha B'Av and Elul. So I went to Morristown for the first time. And I knew that at that point I wanted to go to yeshiva, but I had one more year of college to do. So I went back there. My senior year in college, now the Itkins had just moved here. They were in a new position. And so I was considering maybe coming for a Shabbos. I wasn't that far away. It's a few hour drive. I happened to have a roommate that was a private pilot. So we were going to do this cool thing and fly his airplane over the mountains and come here for Shabbos and stay with the Itkins. Turns out there was big storms that weekend and it just got canceled. So I never made it here then. But Shloshim Pratis was years later, Hashem sent me to Pittsburgh. And of course, we're very excited to see the Itkins here and reconnect. They're like family, really. He and his family did so much to get me where I am today, really. So anyway, L'chaim said, Chai Yitin Aliva,
My father used to repeat always from Rabbi Kranz in Virginia, Richmond. He would say that your shlichus is to see every single Jewish living room in Richmond. That's your job here.
Well, there's a few people he hopped.
He said he was there for 1 year. It was one of his most difficult years he ever had. He's a Baruch Hashem. He says 4 families who became from as a result of that year. I was by the Shiva, my parents in New York, and I met somebody. I don't know, someone didn't look like he fit in over there.
Grosses, I think.
Grosses, yeah.
Yeah, Alice Gross.
Alice Gross, yeah. But, I didn't know that. It's like him and his brothers and Silver Spring, was it?
Yeah, fine.
When you hear some very powerful story that people need, it's a very strong message, especially now in these days that we are now. It's only about that happened in the time of the Magid, and there were 2 partners. One of them was a little more balabos, was 51. The other one was 49. The way was that every time there was a auction, a read, Leipzig, so one of them, the 49, used to go, bought everything that he saw, and after 2 weeks, he let him know about what he bought, and he approved it. One time he went, and 2 weeks passed by, and he doesn't hear anything from him. 3 weeks, he doesn't hear anything. He was worried because he gave him a lot of money, and many people also lent him money, but he didn't hear anything. Like this, it was the 4th week, the 5th week, 8 weeks. He didn't know what to think. After 8 weeks, he is coming to his boss in a dream, and he's telling him, you are probably thinking what happened to me. So I want you to know that after 2 weeks, I was in one town, and I was in a shul, and suddenly he said he felt physically bad, and he passed away. Nobody knew who he is, but he was a Yid. So they buried him in the Jewish cemetery. Right away, after he was buried, there was among all of these people there that were buried, there was some kind of a Farbrengen that soon is going to be the Yortzeit of the Magid. The Yortzeit of the Magid is Yutes Kislev. That happened before the Alter Rebbe was in jail. And at the Yortzeit of the Magid, he's coming all over the entire world, every cemetery, and people that were connected to him, he's calling them to come with him directly to his Heichal. Amazing thing. And it was very short before Yutes Kislev. And here, Yutes Kislev is coming, the Magid is coming, and he's calling these, and he calls him. He was completely surprised because he had nothing to do with the Magid, no connection, nothing. Why is the Magid calling him? But of course, he didn't say anything. He followed, and he went in the Heichal of the Magid, which was really a chorus, something that cannot be described. And it was very good for him, but he was so scared. He knew that he does not belong there. Any second, somebody will come to him and tell him, you don't belong here, even though it's Elohim Emes. So he was hiding in a corner for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was an unbelievable oineg, but he was afraid. 8 weeks passed by. Nobody's telling him to go out. So he knew that this is not a mistake. He felt more confident. He went to the Magid and he said, Rabbi, thank you. But why? Why did you call me? I never had any connection, he said. So the Magid said to him, listen, my son, you think that you didn't have a connection, but when your mother was pregnant with you, she came to me to ask for a blessing. And that create a permanent connection forever. This is the story that he told me. Powerful story, especially now that we are around Yud Shvat. His mother came to ask a blessing when she was pregnant with him. We are Hasidim. Not only we ask a blessing from the Rabbi, everyone did so much what the Rabbi wants. Not enough, but so much, learning Chassidus and doing it with other people. Look, of Rabbi Itkin, and everyone, every Chassid. So we have to know that the Rebbe is with us forever. Doesn't matter. Should never, the Rebbe is telling us in the Maimer from Yitzchak, it has to be Shtus Dikdusha. What is Shtus Dikdusha? Sometimes there are people that they feel they don't deserve it. They are failures. They are not successful. So the Rebbe is telling you, it's not true. You are minds, of course. You have to be better. You have to do more. But the Rebbe is ours. And the Rebbe said to somebody, that was before the Nesias, there was somebody that was even a shtickle, maybe he had some kind of shlichus from the Friedrich Rebbe, and one day he decided that he wanted to go some kind of a college, and he knew that the Rebbe did not want it, so he decided, okay, so he is not Mikusher anymore to the Rebbe. He wanted to go so much, so the Rebbe writes to him, Iskashus between a Chassid and the Rebbe is from both sides. From the Chassid with the Rebbe and the Rebbe with the Chassid. Even if the Chassid wants to go away, the Rebbe is not leaving him. The Rebbe is going down with him, even in She'oel Tachtis, even though that for the Rebbe is very painful, what he won't let him go down until he will bring him back. And that is Shtus Dikdusha. We should only concentrate about this, that we're not alone, and that we have the Rebbe with us, and we could be better and better and better. And now is Yud Shvat, and this Rabbi Itkin did it always. He never allowed himself to put down, always higher, better. Shtus Dikdusha. Chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Hey Messiah, Kosimar, Shaya Futsu, Manasefa Futsu. Hey Messiah, 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 Kosimar, Shaya Futsu. Kosimar, Shaya Futsu. Hey, ya, 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 ya. Do the Levi. Yes, it. Step sagen.
Wat is heimisch? Wat is heimisch?
Kennst du sagen?
Oh, eine Galgala, ne? No?
Make us feel like it's your Shvat coming.
No? That's correct. No?
Let's pretend.
Zevi, kom ook nog heim.
Chaimke, you there? No?
Chaim is not here, but
Okay.
share.
But it's a story that Rabbi Itkin always would tell us. I was 13, 14, and I share it every year in Toronto before Rosh Hashanah. You know, they had the story of the chicken, the hen, how the chicken gets dirty. Just tell this story, the mashal, famous mashal before Rosh Hashanah during Elul, that how the chicken, you know, gets, those days, how did they clean the chicken when it got all filthy and schmutzig? They would take it, you know, one by one, feather by feather, and it's a very long and tedious process. Comes along, you know, the chicken and gives a one big, or you know, one that you give a tickle to the chicken. What happens? In 1 second, all the dirt gets shaken up in 1 second. To as opposed to, you know, having to go through the whole tedious process. So Stama, we can use this marshal before Yud Shvat also. Elul, Yud Shvat. You know, I find myself since a few weeks, you know, it's freezing in Toronto. I'm sure it is by you also, but it's colder in Toronto in the morning. You know, 6 o'clock in the morning. There's a sheer Schus Rabbi Yitzchak that I'm Basi Lagani, but I'm thinking, you know, it's cold. It's bitter cold and it's not comfortable. But I'm thinking, you know, I guess it's a bit of a guilt thing, but it's I guess it's okay. I was thinking to myself, you know, what would Rabbi Itkin say? What would he think? He always would give me a good word. Yirmiyah, keep on going. You know, always empowering, always encouraging, always weiter. And really, I have to say, I'm thinking to myself these past few weeks that yeah, no, we have to have the shir in Toronto, and it's 6:20 in the morning. It's early, about 17 kind of hard to 17. Younger light, but yeah, it's when I want to tell Chaimke and his family and everybody that really he is big motivation for that push.
Yeah.
Not being complacent.
Thank you, L'chaim.
Chaim l'chaim bracha. Chaim.
Hier van de eten zet.
Oh, let's save it.
I'll say that. What? Nothing. Sure.
You wrote an article in the True.
Right.
In red.
Red.
Writer. Writer, Ben Writer.
Hey, I know already, Rabbi. What would you say?
Shalom aleichem.
Ladies, look at
It's only something.
Call me seltzer.
Not my bottle.
Hashtia kados. I don't think it would have ever gone for a Pellegrino over this.
Huh? Nice color bottle. Huh? We're on the way. We're on the way.
Amazing.
Everyone has an agenda. I always wondered how Rabbi Yitzchak, his background, where he came from, and how he spoke English. How did he become so close with Mr. Rudolph? He touched on it a little bit. I sat with him before. We were talking about a pellet to me. Like two different worlds. He's a physicist. It's his mind, physics. Sports. Marty knows the story. He became close with people that were dramatically different than him. There was no connection. One would think that it would be a shaykhis between the two. Yet he never changed. Itkin never changed. Pittsburgh didn't change. Almost everybody gets just to till the last day. There's no Steelers and Penguins, So those of us who grew up, it's our whole life. Those who come here after a while, usually if they were followed another team, they switched to the Pittsburgh team. So he remained like Gansen. His English remained came out the same. His expression the same. He mamish didn't change, but yet he was able to connect with so many different people.
Hey, I think a Pedic when they get shot.
So say Masber.
That's your heading.
No. High school. I'm going to say something. Just a couple of the kudus to come. He the Vort. Rebbe wants his Masber. The story with Shlomo Melch from a couple weeks ago. Rebbe wants Masber. The story makes no sense. Like the whole Chochmah, they would listen. The whole story of the Rebbe wants Masber. The story that the Rebbe's Masber was that mother wanted chinuch. My father would always say, when a parent came to him, she mentioned my father gave a letter to him. So a parent came to my father, talked about this. My father said, I want my child to be well-rounded. I want my child. My father said, the basketball is well-rounded. The child's not well-rounded.
you wanna break the child up into so many different parts. And that's the mother, that's our culture. They have to do everything. They have to be able to be, they have to, at the club, they have to play an instrument, and they have to do this, and they have to do that, and everything in one, a big basketball, a big round, well-rounded. But the bottom is, it doesn't work that way. And Hatzlach and Chinuch, Hatzlach in life is when you identify a couple things, and that's who you are. That defines you, and that's how you live your life. Me, Rabbi Itkin was the most uncomplicated person you could meet. He was just not a complicated person. It was just certain things that he believed in, 2-3 things. That was it. And that's why, if you listen carefully tonight, and I knew this before, I was thinking, what am I going to say? I said, for sure, every speaker is going to say the same thing. I mean, what can I say? I have to say something different. I knew what everyone was. I didn't speak to anybody. I knew what everyone was going to say, and that's exactly what happened. Why did everybody say the same thing? Everyone say the same thing because he wasn't complicated. Who he was in Gansen. That was it. When we Bernadette wrote up the beautiful letter, the fundraising victim. My results should be as good as the letter. But what? Yeah. So interesting. Your mother wanted to see the letter. She took out a couple sentences. What were the couple sentences? The couple sentences in her mind was who's Moise. So don't make him into what he doesn't. We're not into making him what he wasn't. We don't want him to be who he wasn't. She said she took out some lines. I don't even remember what the lines were, but they were all like Dober's flowery way of describing some sort of, that's what he was. Believed in a couple of things. Things were repeated 100 times tonight by different people. Everyone was saying the same thing. Because that's who he was. He was not complicated. Able to interact with everybody, when we know who we are, we know what we stand for, we know what's important to us, we're consistent with the same person day in, day out, do the same thing. Get along with anybody. The problem is when we're well-rounded. And we have all sorts of shittas and hashkafas. Today like this, tomorrow like that. You're not sure who you're going to meet. Are you going to be the happy guy? You're going to be the depressed guy? You're going to be the guy with the svekas? You're going to be the guy with the... You don't know your meetings. There's no place to come together. Rabbi Itkin was absolutely, and he was like that, by the way, when he was I didn't see him as a guy, but he was lying in bed. It was the same Rabbi Itkin there also, the same exact thing. In fact, he started talking to me certain things. Maybe we should stop talking right now. My thoughts, I shouldn't talk. Same the kudus, the same oasis, the same. So he got along with everybody. Neighbors will help that as we prepare for the Shevat. It's a good time. We'll get to the second point that Rabbi also wants to know who we are, what we stand for, not to be cut up in too many different pieces, to be less complicated. Very that's that we can the Abbas Yisrael and the Achatz Yisrael, it's easier said than done. But if we know who we are, then there's a place to. But if we don't know who we are, then another person for sure doesn't know who we are. It's that we should. Rabbi Itkin would despise this whole conversation about him. The Rebbe, let's talk about your Shevat. And that's what I've done. I'll sit him to prepare for that. And then Rabbi Itkin will be comfortable by the Farbrengen.
By the Siyum HaShiva, there was a Farbrengen from Allah, teaching us the Shloshim in Spain. So, but the fact that there's Pratim, and then there's the Yisod that everything is about. Everything was about obviously. It wasn't about obviously, so it wasn't about Simcha. It wasn't what's the guy? It's a chassid. He's a chassid ben Muhusay. Durch and durch a chassid. The emes lamita. But then everything else. He was an authentic chassid. When Adam Reinhardt wanted to explain, I don't understand. I'm hearing that he was like, he never left San Sandy. You have to explain to me what that means. As a whole, I was punked. I was visiting my father. My father was in the hospital, so I was in Florida. So I was by my father. I actually left the next morning. Like, you know, Lubavitch was at night, and then the next morning I went to Florida. So I went to my father. So I'm in the hospital with my father. And I'm talking to Adam Reinhardt, and I'm telling him Visa is. My mother is going. My father's laughing. My mother's going Meshuggah. I said, "Why he's a frum guy? Don't worry, he understands." You know, I'm telling him it's a 90. I'm trying to give him the whole flavor of what it means. It can never left to give that to what's outside. But that's the nakuda that I think because whatever, it's much easier to speak about someone's Ahavas Yisrael, someone's simcha, because that's the tangible and somewhat relatable, and what do you call the nuggets that you can talk about and relate to. It's al derech. Now I think and there's another nakuda that tonight I thought of also. The Amshel Rabbi Silver said, it's al derech by the Rebbe also. If you go to the Welt at large, you talk about the Rebbe. What do they talk about? Talk about the Rebbe, about Shlichus, about the Meis. Obviously, saw all the great Sachen. And then you have the people that appreciate that as though the Rebbe is Torah. So you have, first of all, the Rebbe's Torah is unfortunately less known than the Rebbe's Pulis. And then those that know the Rebbe's Torah, there's like the Rebbe's Pulis. Oh, because they don't get it. The Pulis. It's like it's complicated. It's fragmented and complicated. And now that is also Chabad B'chlal. We became a social service. I just found out this week that watermelons have to do with Palestinians. I thought it had to do with Chabad. But I found out this week it has to do with Palestinians. But we're, we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's one of the, I saw somewhere that one of the Palestinian emblems is like some watermelon, something to do with a watermelon. Palestinians. I was like, I thought it was ours. But anyway, so so I'm trying to. So we have our social services, and what happens? Gave Zay Masbe, you have to be Masbe Chassidus, but everything that the Rebbe taught there is the whole concept of Shlichus is all a Pel of Chassidus. It's all expression of Chassidus. And was heißt, was be'emes a Shliach, was that his whole Shlichus is a Pel of his Chassidus. Because the whole Shlichus is a Pel of Chassidus. Now that's also the whole Metzias of the Rebbe is a Pel of his Torah. In other words, the Amaisuika hit Tatum Lashon Eira. The Rebbe could learn Tatum Lashon Eira and put it into action. So, as we say in Nidike mention. So for us, you look at the pools, you get all excited about that. Eshem Fages is the Tatum behind that, and in the mensch we forget that the pools are a Pelyetze, are Levushim Chitzenim of the mus of the person. As we versteht, that this is a person that there's a Teda and there's a muhus behind the pulus. So it's doch a ganze Nacht wegen Davis Yisrael, the Simcha, all good Sachen. But there's two Sachen that behind it. First of all, there's the Teda behind it. Itkin is a ish Teda, like Penny said. You know, I remember we sat over here in this room every day. Like Itkin, like Len, everything was about Limudat Teda. And second, that everything was the Pa'ulis, not Pa'ulis, but the character that's a Pelyetze of the Muhus of a Chassid. And that's the Iker. So yeah, of course it's easier to say, okay, I'm gonna be Mesef and Avis Yisrael. A Chayit and a Libe, we're gonna have more Avis Yisrael. First of all, we all know that it doesn't happen, right? But that's the talk. Aber a Chayit and a Libe is Mizayna Chassidin. Emes Chassidin. Emes Chassid, that's it's the authentic Chassid that you look at. That and so and what? How does it express? So I don't know if this Rabbi Rosa wanted to say before. Go on, not to say, but the Nakuda of this year's Pedic of Basi Lagani is that because the Ein Sof is partial with Tachas Apshitis, so therefore the Matamat. What does the Matamat in Tachas mean? That Mitzad Echad, he's Lamatamata. I'm a slavish for Lamatamata. No chiddush of this Pedic of last week's Pedic is slapshus. He's slapshus, Lamata, and at the same time, Ein Misadif. And at the same time, he remains with Pshituse, remains in who he is. So in other words, the whole chiddush is that what Rosa was saying before. You could say, okay, he's not a man, he comes in, he's like, no shit. In other words, the pshittus of Ein Sof that he comes in, and it's pashit, he doesn't know he's a mushit, he's an anam developed. That's not Ein Sof special matmata in tachlis. That's that the Ein Sof is alam olamayla, that even when he's lamata, he's lamayla. He's not here. The Rebbe's what the Rebbe is trying to enchadish here is that the Ein Sof is mitzad lamata. Yeah, right. The great part. So, in other words, the mata has to appreciate it, which means that the Ein Sof that's chaystrikin in the mata. And yet, at the same time, he remains with Shituse.
He was sitting here, he'd say, that's not China.
Not about him. No, I'm talking about the Indian. Talking about the Indian. The Indian of Hashem, what's a chassid is. I'm not saying he's Ein Sof. No, that's what I was trying. I said before he came in. I said as a co-teaching the same class. He says, "Look, each student took every time." I was behind the scenes. My God, what are you doing with that kid? I heard the way he saw the kids, and
Not the same kids.
that's what I'm saying. I thought the same kids. We spoke the way this is Mata. And half of became maybe Pshitusim with the half is also the Tosachos. The kinders, my mother in the back was telling me what to tell the reporter. Tell him that he should just see as a mechanech that he was in Pittsburgh and alles and kinder, chassidische kinder. That's they have to know. That's what the reporter should say. Don't say some chassid. Gehad with all seine Kinder, seine chassidische Kinder. That means that you're a chassid. I didn't tell it to the reporter. I said, "Not talk to him." I'm not talking to reporters. I said, "Talk to him. He's a nice guy." And next time he's in Pittsburgh, tell him I want to meet him. My mother stayed in Itkin's house when she was a girl.
Married in Tasman.
Yeah.
Sivka, when she was going to the Sivka.
She's the same age, Rabbi Itkin, but she stayed in.
From here.
She came there and she lived in their
Somehow
house.
many people went.
Was it already then? They were living.
They were living next to
them?
us. Yeah.
Most people went through.
What? She and her sister, yeah.
What?
They lived in Mistamik because Rabbi Dvorkin, I'm assuming.
What's the Dworkins? Because he lived Dworkins from Pittsburgh.
Mistamik, that's how they got there. I'm assuming. I don't know. I didn't have something there. I'm assuming it's how that.
So what does that do?
How they get to
with
Itkin's house.
So what does that do? with
They lived. Rabbi Dvorkin. I'm saying.
He lived by in the basement.
Downstairs, but he lived downstairs.
We're talking about downstairs. It was open. Father spent his whole childhood running back and forth.
What did they
He-
charge
he-
rent
he-
in the 60s? What did they charge rent?
$500. It was $550.
My father was very close to Ram Shimon. Everything he said, literally hang out there, as a kid. He used to say how his father married Itkin, used to come down by night. He used to have a bottle of mashka hidden by Ram Shimon's house, Ram Shimon. So his wife shouldn't know about it. At night they would go down, him and Ram Shimon would say L'chaim, scared. This is our design sometimes. So he says, Ram Shimon, he says one time my father did Shimon for him. He spent as a kid, Pasha grew up by him. He didn't give Shimon to a lot of people. My father got Shimon for him. So he says one time, he walks into Ram Shimon. Ram Shimon is mensch. He asks him, what's this? He shows him a letter he has on the table. And he says, there's a couple asked the Rebbe about the Shaila, a certain Shaila, if you should do an operation, something like that. The Rebbe says, get fed by Mordechai Asira, fed by Rav. So he came to Ram Shimon. Ich bin nicht der Doktor, ich weiß nicht von dem, but der Rebbe mir geschickt. I have to answer. It means I have the koyach to answer. Aber ich weiß nicht, was answer. He's mamish ois mensch.
And that's also it?
It's also it.
Okay, so have I heard it from him?
Yeah.
Did more details?
Very sure I can remember more
What?
details.
Could be a different story. Maybe please share the details. No, it's a different story. But it's the same idea, Mamish.
Same idea, but it's very sure I can remember.
It's out there that Chaim decided my whole Chabad house was already kosher kitchen.
You mentioned
That's
this.
not what I. Okay, it's good.
I thought I reviewed it. No,
What?
I really said.
What?
You asked how many people did Rabbi Itkin touch your kitchen?
I said a bunch of hands went up. I didn't say most of my Chabad house hands, but alavai.
He's looking at the
It sounded great. Chaim, you're gonna be the rest. You're gonna be the other ones. Chaim and Gemach.
When Mrs. Posner from Pittsburgh, she had to. She was thinking of taking a certain. She had an issue. Your grandmother, she had an issue, and the doctor said that there's an operation she could take. The operation would take out 25 pounds of fat, but she shouldn't take it. It won't be good for her if she takes it. So what? They weren't sure? That's the word? You remember? I don't know. What? Operation. It's an operation. So she wrote to the Rebbe. She went to Yichis to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said that she should ask Zalman Shimon.
That's Zalman Shimon asked her of.
I don't remember also.
Okay.
Right now.
In the booklet state as
What?
Was it Pittsburgh at the time or was it in New York?
The Pashas was Pittsburgh, but I don't want to say. I don't know. I said I don't know. I don't remember.
Even if he was in New York, they were close at that time.
They're always.
Right. So he asked her questions, and he said, "Okay, you should do the operation." And they took a 25 pounds, and she lived, and it saved her life. And he said, "You see from this, as he's telling the shver how you see him siyata shmai fanarov." Yeah.
Das ist die Siyata Shmai von der Rav oder die Siyata Shmai von der Farbrengen?
No, von der Rav. No, the word was von der Rav. The word was von der Rav.
It's not like Dr. Zelik saying this.
Yeah.
There's a difference, it's two different.
Yeah, Roman, the Rebbe took the Shiksa the far to get the.
Right. Chacham Asher always chazer how he would always go to, he would just go to your father. He had the same anecdote. I always asked Rabbi Rosenblum, how did you have such chassidische kinder? And he told me that I what? Other words? What? I didn't hear. I didn't question the Mesid. I gave them to the Mesid, and that was that. Said the word was as the Mesid von Eben, get rein the Kinder Mesid von Eben, Kinder come to good without the feeling. What it means, ich weiß nicht practically, but and what I meant practically was, but that was he had it many times.
He's the, Lubetsky sends out a daily.
Yeah.
Today's Xavier Kedish was the Fursum Daiti. Are sending kids to Lubavitch Center. Fursum Daiti.
Gilitsky from Tel Aviv says.
I'm saying.
Yeah, before some.
Not sending the non
No, there was not saying to Lubavitch. It's actually interesting. That writes behemshech to what they get in their house, they should get in school. Actually, interesting answer. First and daiti that the school has to be a hemshech what they have in the house. They have to go to Lubavitch school.
The house should be a hemshech of the school should be a hemshech of that.
Depends if you read from right to left to right.
The Pashas that I was assuming that someone's asking him, so the house is going to be the school. It's funny, you should said about the doctors with the like. My father had a stroke, was busy telling all the doctors. He's not the head of the department. He's not the head of the doctor. It's like Reisa Malach. He learns what the doctor wants to hear. He's still the shit like that. You could get the doctor. What? You tell those doctors. Say it's like they think this is what
Have a conversation. Schools, the Hemshech
hospital.
What's going to be cool?
We'll take care of it.
Our ancestors went to the
With that angekrochen in the felt that he was pretty nasty. So he felt that Ken Zaitz he was a nice guy, but he was
a lot of kids. Today, they said all the fathers were shul. They go to shul. They came and had normal schedule. How are they supposed to go to school? So he said, you want to charge us so much tuition to pay that we have to go to work, but then you cancel schools so they can't go to work.
So remember when there was the 2 weeks? The 2 week school was closed. There was a big storm. And that's when all the private schools went. The public schools go for 3 weeks. That's when all the private schools said, yeah, the Lubavitch Center.
Well, Tatum never. The steam wasn't working. He wasn't working. All describe how Russian people bang their feet on the floor to stay warm. So that was a justification for the stadium not working. Let me tell you. Shrey told a lot of stories of Bill Chai. Story. That's a good thing. First moved to Brazil. Back to New York. Hugging of New York. Major snowstorm. It's mother, it's Bedford. Buckled him up. Mother went to Bedford. Got there. There was only one other neshama. Chaim. So I was so happy. Kid showed up. I found that teacher, the mistake showed up, and I see a mother bringing the kid. What do I tell her?
Hey, kiddo.
Learn with them one-on-one. Chaim had have a sandwich because it was a big sandwich. After the lunchtime, half an hour sandwich. Then old Mrs. Mother came 4 o'clock, picked them up. Who closed schools? Sure, I told a lot of he was
Used to talk in a story about davening, counting count the words of davening like you
Very
count
effective.
dollars. That's what used to talk in that story from Another Chaim. Never?
Yeah.
Tell the bar. Zählen de Werte von David mit Zählt Dollar. Zählt Geld.
Friedrich ever said that he was a word by Elchaim in the Happy Shemayim.
Life just is one
That's
way.
what's called like books. The minute you want
Upward and
to
upward.
leave that.
Not easy.
I don't think the mind vies goede as you say not the rocks comes to my hand right the rocks that I can't say be that trying to figure out how to get here.
You know, camps, there's always a scavenger about the old Tedek. The season when he's coming back. So my Shver told me the story actually happened.
You called down for records to concede. The white answers, I'm looking towards the goats. Oh, he sees. So the bucket asks, where's it coming back?
See, when he comes back.
By the way, it's interesting that most of Anash know Rabbi Itkin from Anash, right? So Rabbi Silver, interesting that from everyone he spoke about how he went around with him to the Nish. It's mainly the Federation people because he did a lot to catch the Federation. There was actually a lady here from the Federation. Wife had a shit, and I said she can't come later. But this lady from the Federation, Chaim told her she should come. So she came to pick up my wife to come here because
Emma.
She came. She was there. That's how my wife came. So I was like, okay. Emma said she's gonna come pick me up to come, but she's like embarrassed to come herself, but she has to come. I said, perfect, come. But it's different to hear from them. Rabbi Itkin is like, like everything like Rabbi Silver explaining like how he sees that down. I hear it from them, and that is the wie did freie Menschen. Everyone here is used to how he's relating to Tanash. Rabbi Silver was saying the way he would go to the knot. Basically, it's the head von Zay, we say that. And the way you speak about Chaim also like that. Also, yeah. You just good to know.
I have Baruch Hashem, the brownie points from.
And my wife tells me, what? I'm saying that Rabbi Itkin's gonna come. He's such a nice guy. He's gonna take care of it. Like this was like when if I was in hospice or something. I'm like, she's probably talking about Chaim. I was like, what is it?
It's funny. My father had like 2 lives in Pittsburgh, which one nobody from one knew about the other. You know what I'm saying? I feel the same thing.
By the way, I would say the interesting thing about the people when they say the people that he kasha the kitchens, side they all knew him. Sachako, you think about the guy. The guy he's coming with the blowtorch and making the mess of pouring the water everywhere. And Kilu, I'm bringing him in. So okay, they'll remember me. Was like, why should they even remember who came in to do it, right?
That's the guy.
What? He's like just the guy, right? He's coming in. They all know Rabbi Itkin. And Rabbi Itkin knew all them. I would say this guy. I said, we were kasha at the house. Like he remembered every house that he came to me to kasha. You remember every family like who he went to. I would say this family, but because you know they are. I know they are. Yeah, we went. Didn't we go cash the house? Like at the Cheshbon where he like these people.
That's interessant.
I will say, Chaim, he never made an alarm go off with me. I don't know about.
Listen, when he went to you, he was already 25 years experience.
I'm talking about you. Okay.
I'm new to the game.
No, but Chaim, what's a Shabbos? No, what's a Shabbos? Chaim says he's going to come cash to the kitchen for Pesach. I said, okay, say that. He'll come. I'll go to him. I'll be there. He calls me up. He calls me up. The fire alarm went up. I said, how do you get into the building with Chal? He's in there. He's blowing torching and set the fire alarm off. Not everyone knows how to disconnect fire alarms.
No, my father pastored a certain country club. Country club called him back up. There was damage in one of our things. You have to pay for it. So my father says, okay. I just want you to know three things. First of all, I didn't kasher a single thing. It was your chef who did it. My father wouldn't kasher it. You make the chef kasher it. Second of all, we didn't even do that piece of equipment. Third of all, was something else. But whenever he would kasher, he wouldn't touch it himself. The other guys kasher it, and he shouldn't be correct. He learned from his mistakes, other people's mistakes.
Was zu sagen in dem? Diese wird noch an der Besitzer.
Okay, what happened was, ich bin all gute Sachen.
Gelernt in Lubavitch, weißt du?
In London, right? In London?
He learned in London, in
Like, it's an
Lubavitch. Yeah. He shows us.
Where's he
Where's he?
Young Israel.
Young Israel.
Can you share information?
Er ist nicht von der Yumi still there.
I'm going, that's off. Night, guys.